So, hello everyone. I am Elaine Cercado. I am a POWERinU Training and Coaching Director, and I welcome you to POWERiNU's complimentary webinar entitled Job Search Restarting Your Career. This complimentary webinar is brought to you by POWERiNU. POWERiNU is a training, coaching, and consulting company with office in the Philippines and also in Singapore. And we've been offering free webinars regularly for more than 2 years now, since January 2019. Our mission is to partner with organizations to enable them to deliver strong business results by enhancing their talent and leadership through value-adding strategic consulting solutions. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker. She's been around 25 years in the recruitment and HR industry, a recruitment veteran of leading local and multinational private companies and executive search firms. She has identified candidates for a wide range of categories, from skilled workers to middle and senior managers and C-level positions for various industries and across multiple disciplines. This experience has led Bernice to build her own recruitment company, Gentem Consulting Services, where they offer talent search and career coaching services. Everyone, let us welcome, and I'll just show her a picture here, but you're seeing her in video or camera now, the president of Gentem Consulting Services. Please welcome Miss Bernice Berenger.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much for that nice introduction. And I'd like to thank everyone who logged in and joined us, and also everyone watching in Facebook Live. Um, I noticed during the questions of Elaine that there were just a little of the participants who mentioned if they're either shifting their careers or looking for jobs. Maybe they're still in the process of discerning whether they are going to shift their careers or they're looking for the new job. So hopefully this webinar would be able to help you. I'll make it as simple and concise. And this is really based on my 25 years of experience as a recruiter. And up to now, I'm still doing my own recruitment. So I'm still in the game. So everything that I share with you is really from my own experience. Okay, so these are just really simple steps. Simple steps for you to start looking at changing your career, or for the fresh graduates to find their new jobs. As everyone knows, we are in a very different and difficult situation. The world was thrown in a situation that nobody was prepared for. And the job search and the job market was greatly affected. I'm sure everyone knows that. No? So now the steps that we have to take has to be in line with the current situation that we are in. Okay, so before I start going through the steps in the webinar, Elaine mentioned already that I will be sending out some questions to the participants here in Zoom, and you please feel free to answer, because at the end of the webinar, we will be giving out the prizes, which I will share with you later. So parang may suspense pa tayo. And hopefully you can participate. Anyway, this would be simple questions. It's all in the presentation. So just make sure that you'll be able to listen and participate also. Okay, so for us to look into the different steps, we have to consider so many things. As you know, there are so many opportunities before that we can choose from. It's so different right now. There are limited choices because, as you know, some companies are downsizing or companies are not hiring at the moment. So there are limited choices, both before there's so many choices, both local and overseas, but right now it's very limited. In addition to that, our own limitations as well have to come into play. With the COVID, with the pandemic, we have to reconsider what we need and what we want at this time or at this point. Okay, so we have to look into all of those considerations. We have to see if the opportunities would meet our needs. Okay, so these circumstances will determine how we are going to start the search. So next slide, please. So for the simple steps that we have, there's only 5. Okay, so first step is to prepare. This basically tells us what we need to do before starting the search. What are the things that we have to consider before starting the search? We also have to do research. It's very important for us to find out what is there that we can consider. What do we look for? How do we look for it also? And where? So this is very important. The third step is to market ourselves. We need to market ourselves to these companies for them to notice us and to get that foot in the door. So we need to know how to market ourselves. The fourth step would be to the application process already, how to apply. So we need to look into the application process, how to send your resumes, what to do during the interviews, what to consider when an offer is given, how to negotiate the offer if ever, and basically anything before signing the offer. And then the last one would be onboarding. So what to do before, after signing the offer, what and before your first day. So these 5 steps are very simple, although there's a lot. I'll try to make it concise as much as possible. So let's start with the first step. Next slide, please. Okay, the first one is to prepare. This one, you really have to take the time. Take the time to prepare what you need to do in order to start. Because once you start your application, you will be able to, you need to be able to show to the recruiters or to the companies what you want. Okay, and the interviewers or the recruiters should be able to see that right away from your resume or during your interview. They need to see what you are really looking for, and they need to match that with what they can offer you. So a good recruiters are experienced enough to know what to look for in your application, and they would notice that if you are not prepared or if you don't know what you want. So you need to find a quiet place in your house. You need to take a pen and paper. You need to put your phone down. And now you have to ask certain questions. Okay, next slide. So I listed down some of the questions that you may want to consider or you may want to answer. So the first one, what are my current needs and goals? Are you looking for a job? Is it to enhance what skills you have already? Are you looking for a job that is financially rewarding? Is it you're looking also for a job that's nearer your home? With the current situation that we're in, is that more important right now? So you should be able to identify what your current needs are and what you want to achieve as well. So next question, let's go from left to right. The next question is, what do you want to do or what are you good at? you have to list down what are the things that you want to do, or what are the things that what your strengths are. In finding the right job, you need to know them and what kind of role is there that you would excel in. And in relation to that, you also need to ask, what do you not want to do? Because that is also equally important. So, for example, just to share with you, in my case, I don't like numbers. I hate math. That's why I took up psychology. I don't like numbers. So, but I always wanted to be in HR. I love talking to people. So, in HR, it was just either recruitment or training. So I never applied to a position in compensation and benefits because I know that there's some computations and math there. I always wanted to just be with people. So not knowing what you do not want to do is also very important, aside from knowing what you can do or what you want to do. Okay, next question. What work locations are you willing to consider? This question was not being considered 10 years ago. I mean, people are more willing and are more capable to work anywhere. Probably 5 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, this question is now very important, especially now with the pandemic. So you need to know what are the areas that you can consider as the work location. Is it, how far is it from your home? How much is the transportation cost? Okay, so are you willing to take that cost if ever? Or if ever there is a opportunity or a company that will offer you the role that you want, but it's really far from your house, are you willing to take that risk? Are you willing to take that opportunity? Are you going to find a boarding house, or are you willing to travel that far? So those are the things that you have to consider also. Aside from the work location, you also have to consider the work schedule. Are you okay to a shifting schedule? Are you not okay to do a shifting schedule? Do you still just prefer a day shift? Okay, or do you prefer a mid shift or a graveyard shift? So these are the things that you also have to consider. And then, are you also amendable to work in the office? Or right now, do you just prefer to work from home? And if you are willing to work from home, do you have the resources to do that? Do you have the right computer? Do you have the right internet connection? Do you have a place in your house where you will not be easily disturbed? Or if you're willing to go to the office, if the company requires, um, will the company consider a company shuttle? So these are the things that you have to find out or you have to consider. And I think the most important question here is, what is the salary that is acceptable to you? What amount would be able to meet your current financial needs? If an offer is given that is lower than what you are expecting, are you willing to consider, knowing probably how difficult it is to find the next job? So again, these are things that you have to consider. Not only the salary, but also the benefits. What benefits are non-negotiable? Meaning, what are the benefits that's essential for you and for your family? What benefits that you can live without? Okay. Right now, companies are changing their benefits because of the pandemic. So, what are the benefits that's non-negotiable to you? You have to consider that. You have to write that down. So, these are just a few of the questions that you can consider. But I'm sure there are other questions that you may want to list down and answer. For fresh graduates, this might be very difficult to answer. But what is really important is for you to find out what you really want at this point. But at this point, when I say at this point, because for fresh graduates, usually your needs and your wants might change in a year or two after you start working. That will change, and that's okay. You can look at what you want again when you reach that point. But at this point, what is it that you want and what is it that you need? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So after you've done your preparation and you've answered most of the questions, now is the time to do your research. Now that you know what you want, you have to investigate what is out there that can meet your needs and your goals. What companies can offer the position that you are looking for? And how would you know if they have an opening? Okay, how do you send your application to them? Okay, will they be able to offer the package that you are looking for? But these kind of questions is very easy to answer with the current technology that we have. It's very easy to answer right now. So let's go to the next slide. These are just some of the sources that you can look into. Best way to check this information is to visit the company website. Okay, if you are interested in knowing more about the company, you can check their website, check their about us page or their career pages. Usually they would update their job openings there. And why is it important for you to know about the company? Because you need to know if this is the company that you want to work for. Remember, when you're looking for your next job or your first job, of course you were thinking that this is the company that you want to stay long with. It's not like I'm going to stay in that company just for a year and then move on. So it's always better to know more about them before applying. Aside from their company website, these companies also have their social media sites, right? So you can take a look at their Facebook page, their Twitter, or their Instagram pages also. Okay. In they also have their LinkedIn company profile. Most of the companies right now have a company profile also in their LinkedIn, and it's also nice to take a look at it because it complements also the information that you might get from their company website. Okay. Also, aside from the company website, you can also look at certain job boards like JobStreet, Caliber, or Indeed. Um, this this are sites that you can research on because first and foremost these are job boards, so usually companies will post their openings there, so you can take a look at what positions are open in these companies. In addition to that, these job boards have also their company pages, and in the company pages they would also list down the services that they provide, the benefits also. Some companies would write down their benefits. And in addition to that, there are also some testimonials from their own employees or previous employees about the company. So it's also nice to check them out and to see how their employees look or what are the things that they say about those companies. So those are the things that would give you more information and knowledge about the company or about the role. It's also nice to look at the role and see if it fits your skills or your experience. Okay, but don't limit your research on all of this with just the internet. I would also suggest that you look into your own personal network. You might be able to find someone who has worked in that company. You contact your families or friends or ex-colleagues and get inside information. This information that's usually not published. So talk to them, ask who knows about this company or who has worked there. So you can also get inside information. Okay. Um, so these are some of the sources um, that that you can consider and do research on. Okay. So for my first question, I hope everybody is ready for my first question. I want to ask, um, can you name at least two of the resources that you can research from? Okay, I think you can put it in the chat box.
So, Bernice, you'd like them to use a chat box.
Yes,
All right.
you can
Okay.
answer.
Let's go. Chat box.
It's there actually. So
We're
remember
not
that
seeing any answers yet. I'll let you know once we see an
okay.
answer. The
Yeah.
question is two sources.
Oh, there na. Somebody answered it.
Miss Lisa Bruan.
Yes. So job boards. Maybe another one. The company website and the social media sites. Yes. Okay, that's from Moses Lazaro. Thank you so much. We will announce the prizes later after the webinar. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so let's proceed to the next step, which is our third step, which is to market ourselves now. So after you've done your research, you are now ready. This step would require you, though, to do a lot. You really have to take the time to do all of this because it's very important. So I'll try to shorten this part because usually this is one whole webinar. So let's start with the first item that you have to do. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm sure most of you already have your resume for or creating one or updating it right now. So you have to redo or create your resume. The top half, just to share with you, the top half of your resume is the most important one. So make sure it shows your career summary or your career objective if you're a fresh grads. For fresh grads, in your career objective, you have to write down your strengths or what you can do or, or what you are good at. For working professionals, for your career summary, you can include your years of experience, your core competencies, and of course, your career highlights or achievements. But don't make it too long. Make it very brief and concise. Okay. So remember, that's the first thing that usually the recruiters or the hiring managers would always look at. Okay. Next is your resume. I know that this is quite difficult for those who have extensive experience already, but try to make your resume only 2 to 5 pages. Okay. It's not very attractive to browse through like a 15-page resume because recruiters really don't have the time to look at all of that. So remember, the recruiters are the first one who holds your resume. So it's very important you attract that they're attracted to your resume already. So make it brief or make it short and concise. Now, in your work experiences, you also need to make sure that the dates and the company names are accurate. Okay, because we always see when I say, yeah, we always see actually resumes that have inaccurate dates. Sometimes it's overlapping. Sometimes it would say that until present, but when we conduct the interview with the candidate, we find out that the person already left last year or 2 months ago. So before sending your resume, make sure that the dates and the data in your work experience and educational background is accurate. Also, for the educational background, there's really no need to include your um, grade school or your high school as a background. Just put in the college, or if you have a post-grad course, a graduate course, then include it as well. If you have any certifications that's related to your work experiences, please go ahead and include that. Same with the trainings and the seminars. Only include those that's related. I have seen resumes where there are 2 to 3 pages of just trainings and seminars. So it's useless. I'm not going to go through that anymore. So only those that's relevant. Okay, that's the most important one. That's why you need to keep your resume short and concise. Okay. Next is you have to update your contact details. The home address or your current address is important together with your email address and your mobile number. Before we used to write our landline number, but it's not being used anymore. What's important is your mobile number. If you have a WhatsApp or a Viber account, you can include it as well, because sometimes it's easier to contact candidates through that also. Why is the home address important? Because sometimes we would have opportunities for candidates. For example, the company is based in Alabang, and we would find candidates who are living in Bulacan or Valenzuela. So we need to, I personally would put that as second priority, because I'm not so sure if they are willing to go to Alabang. However, they will still be called because we may never know. Candidates might be willing to work in Alabang. So it's also very important to put the home address. Okay. And again, contact details has to be very accurate. Okay. And here is one tip that I would like to share with you also. You do not have to have only one resume. You can have several versions of your resume. Your resume should be you should be able to tweak it. Why? Because it can differ from the position that you're applying for. For example, let's say you are an accounting supervisor wanting to apply for an accounting manager position. Before last week, you wanted to apply for the same role, accounting supervisor. So if you want to apply for an accounting manager role, you need to write your experience in handling or managing people, because definitely those are the things that the recruiter would like to see if you have the managerial experience. You don't have to write that if you are applying for an accounting super for the same role. So you should be able to tweak your resume. You can have more than one resume. Okay. So okay, so that's my tip. Okay. The other one is we have to draft a cover letter. The cover letter doesn't have to be a separate document. So when you're sending it electronically, the cover letter will have to be in your email body. You do not have to write down all your work experiences again, because it's already there in your resume. But at the same time, don't just say, "Dear recruiter, please see attached resume." That's it. No, you have to say something a little about yourself, about why you're applying for that role. And then it would be good if you can already write down in your email body your contact details and what would be the best time for the recruiters to call you. However, if you put a time, let's say I'm open every afternoon or every morning, make sure that you're available to take their call. okay, because they can call during that time. Okay, so again, the cover letter is also important, and you can put that in your email body. Okay, remember that recruiters review so many resumes in a day, and usually, on average, it takes them only 6 seconds to review a resume. So make sure that your resume will be tagged as to call or for future reference, and not tagged as rejected. Because once the recruiters review it, you want, again, as I said, you want you want them, you want to pass that first hurdle, and you want them to call you. So make sure that your resume is good enough for them to call you. Okay. Next, this is also, I'm sure that's everybody is familiar with LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn has now become one of the most reliable source for recruiters. Um, this is a business and professional employment oriented online service, right? So your profile should look professional. Okay, first is make sure that you have a professional photo. Okay, I cannot emphasize enough for this, because usually this is the first thing that the recruiters would look at. Okay, and if they see a photo that's not ideal, it's a little it leaves a bad impression. So make, because it's a profession, this is a professional site. This is not a social other, like a casual site like Facebook or in Instagram, that you can use any photo, a casual photo, that's okay. But in LinkedIn, make sure that you have the professional photo, and it's so easy to get one. You don't have to go to a photo studio anymore, unlike we did in our time. You can just take a professional photo, have a nice background, a professional background, and just, you can even edit it a little. So make sure that you have a nice photo. The photo in your resume is optional. You do not have to have a photo anymore in your resume. But if you want to put, that's okay. But it's now optional. In LinkedIn, though, I would suggest that you put in a photo. Okay. Second is, you need to have an impactful profile headline. The profile headline is your title under your name. Okay. So it should be eye-catching. This can be either your current role in your current job, or it can be your professional title. If, let's say, you're a teacher, an HR professional, you're a lawyer, you can put that as your profile headline. Okay, next would be the career summary, which comes right below your photo, the summary. This should also be written well. It's the same as your career summary or career objective in your resume. You can just use that if you want, but make it, again, very concise, very well written, and uh, encompasses already your expertise. Okay. Um, and then next would be your skills. You can just choose the skills that is relevant to your work experience. And then educational background is also there, certifications. What is great about LinkedIn is that it has a step-by-step guide in creating your profile. It tells you what you have to do, so it's very helpful, it's very friendly to use. Also, just to advise you, the LinkedIn profile is not your resume. I suggest that you still have to have a separate resume. Okay. Okay. So my second question for everybody is, it's very simple. Can you have more than one resume? Just answer yes or no. Okay. Dami. Okay. Great. Great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So next slide, please. Okay. The application process is now where you will be able to send your application, attend the interviews, and review your job offers. Okay. So once you've identified the positions that you want, it's time to send out. already your resume. Okay, next slide. Now, once your resume is submitted and you have been invited for an interview, these are just some of the tips that you would like to consider or you should consider during the interview. Right now, interviews are all online. It can either be through phone or video calls. There are still some companies who would do face-to-face interviews, but usually that would be on the final stage already. For the initial interview, please make sure that you have very good signal and very good internet connection, because it's very important that you are online and that you don't get disconnected. Okay. Also, of course, even if you're just at home, you have to dress properly for video calls. Okay. Don't use t-shirts. I mean, they would still see, they would still know. Okay. So please dress properly for video calls. You need to also have nice or proper backgrounds. And it should be a place where you will not be disturbed and you can hear them clearly. Okay. Um, Also, if you would like to ask questions, be ready with your questions already. Research on the company or what you want to ask, but as long as it's ready and it's there already with you during the interview. And then during the interview, when they ask information, make sure that you have accurate information. Make sure that you say the right dates. Okay, so if you want your resume there beside you, that's okay, but don't read off from that resume. You should be able to know your resume by heart. Okay, and lastly, of course, because it's not face to face, you have to be confident. You have to show your confidence. Okay, next slide. Okay, after the interview, if you pass all of it, it might be 3, 4 interviews until they've decided to give you the offer. When the offer comes, my suggestion is do not immediately decide. You have to take the time to read the offer letter, to read the employment contract, if it has been given already, very thoroughly and completely. I always tell my candidates, don't give me your decision today. Sleep on it, talk to your family, discuss it with your wife or with your husband, and then give me your final decision tomorrow. Why? Because I don't want my candidates to accept and then decline after a day or two, or worse, do not show up on their first day. That's very discouraging, and maliit lang ang mundo. Recruiters share databases. Companies can blacklist you or recruiters can blacklist you. And it's not very professional. It's not ethical. You will have to have the time to really review everything. If you have questions, then that's good. Ask the questions. Talk to the recruiter. Talk to the hiring manager. Ask the questions before signing. But once you sign, you have to honor your decision. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Now that you've accepted the offer, the only thing that you have to do is to show up on your first day. That's the only thing. Now, I'm sure your HR has already briefed you on what to do or what time. Please make sure that you have all those data before your first day. If not, call your HR or call the recruiter 2 days before your start day. What is the company attire? What is the official attire? What time do I have to be there? Are there any documents that I need to bring on my first day? And this goes not only for fresh graduates or candidates who have 20 plus years experience. You need to be prepared on your first day, because your first day, you should make sure that it should count. It's your first day in your new career. Okay, so these are very simple steps that I hope everybody has learned something. For my last question, when an offer is given to you, do you give your answer right away? Okay, everybody. Okay, so um, I want to, okay, so the steps are there. I hope everybody was able to take into consideration everything that I've shared from my own experience. I want to thank everybody for your time and for listening in. And I want to thank Power in You again. Elaine, Trina, thank you so much for guiding me all throughout and for helping me with the presentation. So I'll turn over to Elaine.
Thank you, Bernice. Thank you for that very informative webinar. We appreciate all your inputs and sharing of tips, advice, and of course the foundational, information about applying or searching and even writing CVs, and LinkedIn profiles. And
Yes.
so we'd like to open this up now to everyone who is in this webinar live for questions. Please type on the chat box any questions that you might have for Bernice, and she will answer that. So this time it's Bernice who will answer the question,
Yes.
whereas earlier Bernice has been asking the questions as a review, and of course, because Bernice said she also has some surprises for
Hmm.
you. We do have some questions which have been sent out earlier when they registered, Bernice. So
Okay.
while we're waiting for some questions on the chat box, given that we do have some time constraint as well, this webinar is up to 8 o'clock. I'd like to now ask some of the questions. Should I send out my resume to a company who doesn't have an opening?
Yes. It's okay because they might have an opening soon. And if you're already in their database, it's easier for them to contact you. So, yes, my answer is yes, even if they do not have any openings. But if this is the company that you want to apply for, please go ahead and send your resume.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernice. And there is one on the chat box.
Yeah.
Is it recommended to have a photo in our CV from RB? I think you did answer that earlier. Can
Yeah.
you perhaps reiterate for RB and the rest
For
who missed that?
CVs, yes, or for resumes, it's optional. It's really optional. If you want to, it's okay. If you don't want to, it's okay as well. So it's optional. However, as I mentioned in LinkedIn, it would be great. I personally would suggest that you have your photo there.
Do
Yeah.
you, and as a follow-up, Bernice, do you have statistics as to um, how many percentage of recruitment happens in LinkedIn? Just out of curiosity.
Oh my, right now it's everything is all the recruiters go to LinkedIn. Before it was just a networking,
Mhm,
you put your profile there just to network,
mhm.
meet people in the same industry, in the same line of business. Right now, LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken, has even surpassed other job boards
Mhm.
as a place for companies
Recruitment.
to recruit.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that is the place to be if you are
Yes.
searching. And of
Yes.
course, it's as you said, a professional networking
Yes.
platform.
Yes.
From Moses Lazaro, what industries are the ones that are in need of people right now?
Okay, very good question. Since the pandemic started, it's now the essential, what we call the essential industries
Mhm,
that are constantly hiring. I think they never stopped hiring. So when we say essential, these are food, food and beverage,
mhm,
FMCG, of course, the healthcare industry,
mhm,
the IT
mhm,
industry, the BPO,
mhm,
the big BPOs are still actively
mhm.
hiring. Um,
Cybersecurity, probably,
yes,
particularly in IT.
yes, especially in IT. Yes, there's really a lot of opportunities right now. Since even some of these companies are expanding.
Mhm.
So to answer that question, it would be the essential industries.
Essentials. Okay.
Yes.
And services, of course, are, I mean, because when you speak about essentials, that could include many, many services, right? So,
Yes, yes,
like
right.
financial services. Okay. You
Yes.
mentioned earlier not to accept a contract right away. Does this apply to contracts for project consultants as well? From Lisa.
Yes, Lisa. Even project consultants, even part-time work, because again, even if it's a 1 year contract, right? You want to make sure that before you sign up, you are committed to that 1 year contract and that you're not going to leave that contract or break that contract within
Mm,
1 year. So it's okay. Take the time. One day, recruiters will understand that. And it's better if you take the time to review.
mm. All right.
Yeah.
From Antoinette, is it okay to remove 6 months work experience on the resume, or is it considered not being truthful?
I would suggest to include all your work experiences, whether it's 1 month, whether it's six
Mhm,
months. It's better so that the recruiters can see, because if there is a gap, if they're usually they would think, oh, what, she didn't do anything or he didn't do anything during that
mhm,
time. So it's okay anyway. If you have the skills and the experience the recruiter is looking for, they're going to go through that with you in the interview, and you
mhm,
can explain what happened during that 6 months.
mhm. Now, Bernice, in relation to that, I see entries such as sabbatical,
Hmm.
on career break, at
Yes,
least in
maternity
LinkedIn, I
leave.
see that. So, what's your comment about that? Is that acceptable?
Yes. Employment gaps are acceptable as long as it's a valid. There are reasons for that, right? Because you're not just going to resign from the company, oh, because I don't like it anymore. And then I just, wala lang, tambay. Well,
Mhm, mhm.
there is a reason for you,
That's right. That's right.
right? So
Yeah.
whether you're taking care of your mother who is sick or you went on maternity leave, that's okay. You can
Okay.
explain that. Yeah.
Does it matter to put that reason? Like as I mentioned, I
Mhm.
see a number of professionals now putting sabbatical leave.
Yeah. If
Okay,
there,
all
yeah,
right.
that's okay. That's acceptable.
Okay, that's good.
Mhm.
Thank you. Lisa, is it true that applicant tracking systems weed out applications even before recruiters can read an applicant's CV? If so, will they know that the ones who are being weeded out are qualified after all? So there are algorithms, right? That
Yes.
this softwares follow.
Tracking,
And
yes.
yeah,
In my 25 years, I have used applicant tracking systems, but I'm very old school. I'm very old school. I'm Gen Z, so I'm very old school. So I
same.
still,
Gen
yeah.
Z.
Pero hindi naman yung cabinets of physical resumes. Hindi naman. It's all soft copies. But of course, there are instances that a recruiter might miss, might not understand or did not do in-depth review of um, the resume. It happens. But that's why it's important that your resume is written well enough for the recruiter to say, uy, may potential to. I'll put this in the to call
Mhm.
file, okay? So that's why it's important that your resume should be well written.
Mhm. Is there, this is another question, not related to, I think some of them do still have questions, but this is in relation to that previous question. Is there a link or a resource that our participants or, people are interested that they can go to or visit to check what are those keywords or
Mm,
things that they have to write to make sure that they
yes,
are noticed by these
yes.
softwares?
There are
Do you have any
so
advice?
many. There's so many in Google. I mean, if you don't have any particular, if you don't know anything particular, there are so many resources in the web. There are so many resources there, but it helps if someone can give you feedback on your resume. Once you've drafted it, it would help if
Mhm.
somebody in the HR field or in recruitment who can give
Okay.
you feedback.
All
Right?
right.
And
So
a recruit, you can even ask your recruiter that,
that's
right?
right.
Yeah.
So a feedback from a person as well as subjecting it to some softwares, probably if there is a link or a resource that you can go
Mhm.
into, could be a way,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. But to your point, a feedback from a person, an experienced one, or even from the recruiter would be very advisable and has
Yes.
proven to be effective.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just ask two more questions quickly. Is it proper if we follow up our application even if they said they will check the resume that I send via email and just
Oh
wait for
yeah.
their call?
Yes. Please do. It's your right. It's your right to follow up. Unfortunately, yes, I do agree that there are some companies and some recruiters who do not provide immediate feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But it is your right to follow up, and
Hmm.
a good recruiter should be able to give you feedback and an
Okay,
honest feedback also.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And one last, I'll choose from the ones which have been sent in advance because this might be interesting for many of you. Is it okay to ask how much the salary the company is offering?
Hmm. Personally, no. um, Wait until you are at a stage where you are being shortlisted.
Mhm.
Don't ask that on your first interview.
All right.
Yes, wait until you're at least shortlisted. But for idea, most of the job openings that are posted in Job Street or ano, has already a range, a salary range. So you would basically know what their budget is.
Okay. Wow, so many very interesting, Bernice, and very practical. Very practical. So many takeaways, so many tips, advices. Thank you so much. And there's still a few questions here. There's still questions sent, and we promise, like what we've done in the past, we will ask our guest speaker, Bernice, here
Yes,
to answer them and send the answers to those who asked the questions, and also, to everyone who participated live here. So
yes,
thank you, Bernice. On behalf of Power in New Philippines, I'd like to give my
yes.
heartfelt and big thanks to you for everything that you have shared in this webinar. And I wish you all the best this 2021.
Thank you, Elaine. Before I go, I just like to share the prize for those who was able to answer the three questions. The prizes that we would like to give is that I would like to offer my service to review your resume and your LinkedIn profile. If you want me to, I will be happy to take a look at it and work with you in order to make it better. In addition to that, we would also like to offer the first five who would like to email me, the email my email address was posted. I hope everybody got that in the previous slide.
Maybe Trina, we can post it
You can
again.
post, yes. Send me an email. I will attend to the first five who would email me in the next hour. The first five who would email me, I will
There.
help you with your resume
Okay.
and your LinkedIn.
It's bernice.berenger at gentemconsulting.com.
Consulting.com.
Okay, go
Yes.
ahead. The first five to email Bernice. And while you're doing that, let me just go on to the next slide. We just have a
Okay.
few more slides. Thank you so much again, Bernice.
Thank
Just
you.
a few announcements before we formally close. Please attend our next free webinar on March 3. Start registering now. It'll be on March 3. It's a very special guest again, Glenn Estrella. The topic is understanding the role of culture and leadership in driving successful innovation. Glenn Estrella is from Ideation and Acceleration of 917 Ventures. He will share his experience in these topics of leadership, culture, and innovation. It'll be on March 3. And next, Trina, if I can just ask for the next one, organizational restructuring program is one of the offerings that we have in partnership actually with Bernice, Gentem Consulting Bernice, and
Yeah.
also with AAI, Assessment Analytics Inc. If your organization is facing operational and organizational challenges and you want to redesign and rebuild your organization's blueprint to success, then know that you're not alone in this situation. More importantly, you do have a road to recovery. And so, among Power in You, Philip Training and Coaching Philippines, Assessment Analytics, and Gentem Consulting, we can help you. We've formed a partnership and we offer you a powerful solution to help your organization recover and even thrive in these very challenging times. Together, we can create a viable and relevant plan for you that will achieve significant results for you and rebuild an even stronger business. So get in touch with Bernice or Powering You Training and Coaching Philippines, of course, myself and others in the team. And so please continuously, we'd like to continuously improve. So please help us by answering the questions that we have here. Just two questions. It will take you 10 seconds to answer this. This will, and also you can find that in the chat box of the Zoom, so that you can help us improve through your feedback. And, we can continue satisfying you in this free webinar. There was a question here, in fact, are your webinars free of charge? This one and the next one, March 3, yes, they are free webinars. All right. So we just extended by a couple of minutes. Thank you again, Bernice. Thank you again, everyone here in the in Zoom, but also in the FB Live, and those who will be watching this webinar, which is recorded and will be sent out to all of you. Thank you, and we'll see you in our next webinar.